This is the Sunshine Cathedral perspective. Global LGBTQ rights under threat in 64 nations with death penalty for gay sex in 11 countries. 64 countries still criminalize same-sex relations, and over a dozen criminalize transgender and gender diverse people. Places that actively target LGBTQ plus people often persecute other social groups as well.
The death penalties for same-sex activity are enforced in several Middle Eastern countries. Iran has executed thousands of gay people since 1979. Iran differs from most countries with anti-gay laws by authorizing gender reassignment. Gay Iranians can be forced to have reassignment surgeries, with up to 4,000 such required surgeries carried out annually. After surgery, people are often shunned by their families. Many support themselves with sex work.
Areas controlled by religious fundamentalist groups can be deadly for LGBTQ plus people. Saudi Arabia punishes gay sex in some cases with death by stoning. Somalia allows execution for gay sex. Al-Qaeda has killed gay men in Yemen. Since regaining power in Afghanistan in 2021, the Taliban has targeted LGBTQ plus people and has threatened to, quote-unquote, exterminate them.
The death penalty for gay sex is technically in places in 11 countries. A 2014 anti-gay law hardened sentences across all of Nigeria.
Uganda threatens life imprisonment and sometimes execution for homosexuality. Those seen as promoting homosexuality also face legal consequences. Christian groups from the United States have promoted homophobia in Uganda. In 2022, Ghana proposed an anti-LGBTQ+ law.
In 2017, Chechnya and the Russian Federation had a gay purge. French activists filed a complaint at the International Criminal Court accusing Chechnya of genocide.
Russia persecutes LGBTQ plus people. In 2016, Tanzania began a LGBTQ plus crackdown.
Britain punished gay sex with death until 1861 and spread homophobia globally, along with other European colonizers. Before that, Africa and Asian societies were generally more tolerant of homosexuality.
Genocide Watch has urged the United Nations to continue advocating for the global abolition of the death penalty and the decriminalization of LGBTQI plus sexual relations in all countries. 64 countries.
Yeah.
Where it is illegal, where everybody at this table, it would be illegal for us to be out about who we are, for us to have the relationships we have. 64. 11 of those, it's on the books we could be killed. About 5 of them actually would do it. Mm-hmm. The other 6 could at any minute. They could become less tolerant in a minute because it's on the books. Mm-hmm. But there are 11 countries where we could be legally killed, 5 where it almost certainly would happen, and then 64 where there's some penalty from fines to short terms in prison to long term in prisons to hard labor. So there are countries, neighboring countries to where we live in Florida. There are neighboring countries where you could get 2 to 3 years just for who we are. Mm-hmm. And then these Saudi Arabia, you can be killed, and I don't mean with a needle, which would be terrible enough, but they can throw rocks at you until you die. How long would that take? How not only humiliating and terrifying, but painful. That's today. And that is, by the way, a close ally of this administration, of the U.S. administration, is the Saudi royal family, and the Kuwaiti and the Qatar. And these are not gay-friendly places either. And so that is the reality of the world right now. And so when we get really just out of control and apoplectic, when people threaten to take away rights we've worked hard to get, marriage equality, trans people in the military, when they go after the medical care of trans people, when they go after kids, when they go after gay queer families, when they go after drag performers, why do we get upset? Because 64 countries already, so we don't want to, and we used to be, I grew up in a state that had sodomy laws. We used to be one of those countries, rarely enforced, but you really could In fact, that's what Stonewall's about. The police came in because queers were gathered. That's all. They were just gathered. They were in a room together, dancing, drinking, having a drag show or whatever. And that was enough for them to come, break it up, take him in, spend the night in jail, get a fine. That was in my lifetime. I was a baby, but that was in my lifetime. And so, yeah, we get excited because it wasn't that long ago for us, and it's not that far away from us.
Yes.
And we are still a world leader for good or for ill. And what we do encourages other behaviors in the world. So when we send missionaries to countries, to homophobic missionaries, and when we fight about whether or not LGBTQ people are humans and have rights and should be legally protected, that is ammunition, that is fuel for some of these places that are already deadly for LGBTQ people. So yes, this matters. And what we do in this country matters. And so yes, people's lives are at stake. And we're going to take it seriously. And this isn't just a matter of opinion. This isn't just a matter of, disagreement. This is a matter of taste. People are dying. And what we do can contribute to that or contribute to saving them.
I think about this big picture. It kind of reminds me, here in America, though the laws may not be on the books, the mentality is being reintroduced into our society. And the ideology that goes along with it. That's the frightening thing to me. And if people are beginning to think I'm looking at Missouri recently that, the KKK, all of them just came out marching down through the streets once again, and they're not hiding their faces anymore. The only group that hide their faces in America right now are the ICE agents. And what is that about?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's that mentality. What is the mentality of our nation right now is such that it is in chaos, it's disruptive, and people are making those who are a marginalized community become the target of hate, of making fear among communities where there need not be any fear. But it's the mentality. The laws may not be on the book, but the mentality is there, and it's very scary. And I think the other thing, for me, it's like the questions I always ask, when all this was going on, where were you?
Yeah.
And what were you doing? And what will history remember you for what you did or you didn't do? Mm-hmm. This is the time now for us to step up, because this cohort and all these folks like this person and this administration has fucked up this country.
And we'll be able to say.
And they're having a major effect on it globally.
Mm-hmm. We'll be able to say, where were you? We were on Queer God Squad screaming, wake the fuck up.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, and better if that admonition would be heard and moved. But even if it's not, at least we can say, well, it wasn't because we weren't ringing a bell.
Right. This is the time. The queer community is vulnerable. Trans folks are vulnerable. Lots of people of color are vulnerable. We got to speak out. We got to do something. We got to say something. Now, you don't have to stand there on your soapbox and scream and shout, but you got to do something. Write letters. Support people where you can. Donate small amounts even to groups that can help push legislation through that will protect people and change the mindset. If you tell your story, it's more likely that people will support you because they recognize your humanity. Right. They recognize you as a person. People sometimes don't give because they think, well, I don't have very much to give. Yeah. There is not an organization I can think of, including Sunshine Cathedral, that would turn down your $3. And you better believe it. Anytime. Do what you can, because joined with everyone else doing what they can, that's how anything happens. Right.
Grassroots is what it's called. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Sunshine Cathedral, I love talking about our church. And one of the things that I get asked, and I bet the other three members of this panel are asked often, why do you guys spend so much time talking about rights, social justice, and things like that? Because we are a church. Yes. Because we follow our brother, Jesus Christ. Anybody who believes in that picture of the gentle lamb never read their Bible. They never listened to what people actually said about Jesus Christ, and that he was a rabble rouser, and that was the reason that the government executed him. So understand that. Understand that you also have a place that you can come to where you can hear the stories as we understand them, as stories of liberation, as stories of going out there and doing what we can in order to save what we have. The church is never supposed to be a safe place. The church was never supposed to be some place where you went to and sat and you listened to a homily and went home feeling better about yourself because maybe the person in the pulpit beat up on somebody that you don't like. That was never the idea of the church, and that's never been the idea of Sunshine Cathedral. So whenever you get a chance, watch the Queer God Squad, tell your friends about Sunshine Cathedral and churches like Sunshine Cathedral that are preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ.
And that's another thing that's very important about that is our theology isn't just something that we like. I mean, we do. I mean, we think it's important, but this is why. The people that a lot of these people, countries that have these terrible laws, those laws, those attitudes were imported from 19th century Europe when they were colonizing. So what they left was the religion that they had, which was oppressive and racist and classist and exclusive, and it allowed for slavery and it allowed for keeping women silent. That's the religion that the Church of England and the Roman Catholic Church and the Presbyterians and the Methodists took to Asia and Africa and South America. And so those conservative 19th century Victorian and Edwardian values, that's what religion did. A lot of those places were less homophobic, some of them even celebrated sexual diversity and gender diversity. But bad religion, bad theology exported, fucked those countries up. So when we will say that we want to have progressive, non-oppressive theology and inclusive worship, and we want to be a different kind of church, and yes, we're going to advocate for trans people, and yes, we're going to advocate for queer people, and yes, we're going to advocate for women's autonomy, bodily autonomy, and yes, we're going to take sides when people are being invaded and tormented. We're going to say that's wrong. Yes, we're going to do that, and it's going to make some people uncomfortable, and some people are not going to be part of it, and some people aren't going to support it, and let it never be said that some entire country is tormenting an entire group of people because our theology got to them and made their lives worse.
Yep.
No, we are not sending anybody to hell. We are not telling anybody that they are innately born bad. We experience joy, and then we say, now take this out.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, yes, we need your support. We need your $3, and we need you to watch us online, and we need you to come when you can, and we need you to volunteer when you can, because theology matters.
Yeah.
Theology, bad theology that got sent around the world is what destroyed the world. Good theology is needed.
Yes.
Not just no theology, because that's fine for some people, but some people are going to look for their gods. They're going to look for their religious community. They're going to look for some kind of faith. What are they going to find? Well, if they look here, they're going to find something life-giving.
My brother.
And that's today.